So this is the Soundcore Motion X600. It's a very elegant looking speaker with an all-metal body that also sounds remarkably great. Now first, I do want to thank Soundcore for sponsoring this video, but now let's see what the Motion X600 is all about. And if you want to pick the speaker up, it'll be linked down below. Now first, let's talk about the design of the speaker. The X600 has a very small footprint on it because it is a vertically designed speaker. But size-wise, I would say that this is slightly larger than your typical mid-size speaker, but regardless, this is a speaker that's going to be very easy to place on a narrow or cramped table, windowsill, or a thin shelf. But more importantly, this speaker has a mostly metal body, which I feel looks very elegant, and there's a built-in carrying handle. So taking this mid-size speaker on the go with you is very easy. Now personally, I would be gentle with this speaker because I would hate to scratch its all-metal body, but the X600 does have an IPX7 rating, meaning that if the speaker were to get wet or rained on, it's gonna be perfectly fine. But now let's talk about tech specs. When it comes to battery life, this speaker has an advertised battery life of 12 hours and it charges via a USB-C port, just as you'd expect. But surprisingly, the X600 still has an audio jack, so if you want to, you can always still use a wired connection with the speaker. Now, I know that the idea of having an audio jack on your speaker seems very basic, but this is actually a very big deal, especially for a speaker of this size and in this price segment in 2023, because a lot of other speakers out there are starting to remove their audio jacks, or audio jacks are being reserved for larger speakers. So personally, I'm very happy to see that the X600 still has an audio jack. But when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, the X600 is using Bluetooth 5.3, but also this speaker has support for LDAC, which is Sony's own in-house high-res audio codec, which means you're going to get more detail out of your music. The only thing to keep in mind here though is if you want to take advantage of LDAC, you do have to be an Android user because iPhones do not support LDAC. But now we can start talking about how this speaker actually sounds. Regarding speaker setups, the X600 has a dual front-mount firing woofers, dual front-mount firing tweeters, and there's an additional driver that shoots out the top of the speaker. And the addition of this upward firing driver really helps the speaker sound very open, and it gives you a dynamic listening experience. Now, there are multiple ways that you can enjoy your music with this speaker, but for the best experience, I would use this speaker with its spatial audio feature turned on, as well with its bass boost mode feature turned on as well. But now we're going to jump into the sound test, and we're going to cycle between the different listening modes that the speaker has to offer, and also the speaker is playing at 75% volume.
One of us seems to circle the other. As you go, you remain a stranger to me, to you. But our pieces left uncovered. I'm thinking about four-leaf clovers. I've got composure, silver coin. You hold me, turn me over. I never expect to forget about it. Watch as the breeze burns golden smoke that you've stolen. Feels like it's my fortune that you're folding. Swimming with the sharks. I'm swimming with the sharks. I can't tell you apart from them. You can't tell either. Will we love or fall in deeper? Tell me, darling, what is it you want? Doesn't work like it used to, as I know I remain a danger to me, to you. Going altered by the moment, dear, and as the days turn idle, sweet on survival. I'm on fire, waiting your arrival. I never expect to be seen without it. Swimming with the sharks. asked for never made its way into your eyes. So very clever, leaving me to wonder what you hide.
So like I mentioned earlier, for the best listening experience, you want to use this speaker with both its spatial audio feature turned on as well with its bass boost feature turned on as well. When the X600 has both of these features turned on, first off, this speaker is going to sound more open because that upward firing driver starts to work overtime. But also, this speaker naturally has an impressive amount of bass. But since this speaker does have rear firing exhaust ports, if you were to place this speaker up against a wall or any flat surface, you'll be able to amplify its bass even more. Overall, I like how this speaker sounds with both its spatial audio and bass feature turned on, and I like how this speaker sounds with its stock EQ. But if you want to, you can always go in and customize its EQ to your liking. And this app works on both iPhone and Android. But if you want more bass, you can do that, or if you want a brighter sound signature, you can also do that. But overall, like I said, I like to use the speaker with its stock Soundcore EQ and with the spatial audio feature turned on, as well with the bass boost feature turned on as well. And finally, there's max volume performance on this speaker. Now, I will say that this speaker gets surprisingly loud for its size. Now, this is a 50-watt speaker, so it's going to have no problem filling a small or medium-sized room with sound. And it'll even do a decent job of filling a larger room with sound. But more importantly, the speaker gets more than loud enough for outdoor use. So if you need something for the cookout or something to use while you're on the deck with friends, the Motion X600 will have you covered. But finally, let's talk about pairing the speaker up with other speakers. Now, with the Motion X600, if you were to get a second Motion X600, you'll be able to wirelessly pair them together by pressing and holding the Bluetooth button on them, and they will sync up and they'll play in stereo mode, as in one speaker will be the left channel and the other speaker will be the right channel. So obviously, two speakers are better than one because your music is going to get louder, you're going to be able to feel your bass even more, and your music is going to sound even more open because you've got one speaker behaving as the left channel and the other speaker behaving as the right channel. But with all that being said, the Motion X600 is a very elegant and impressive speaker from Soundcore. It sounds very open thanks to its upward firing driver, and it also has an impressive amount of physicality in its bass, all on its own. I also really like its elegant design and metal body, and the speaker also has an audio jack, so if you want to, you can always use it with a wired connection, which is a feature that's becoming more and more rare these days. And the speaker also has a built-in battery. Now again, I do want to thank Soundcore for sponsoring this video, and if you want to pick up the Motion X600 up, it'll be linked down below. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.